Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Duo Channels today. We're back on the Spurs Talk Show and we're going live to Football Inc., our second channel, Johnny and I's second channel. We hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love. We were going to do two separate shows, but ultimately the big footballing story across all of the various options is, of course, Tottenham Hotspur, the impact on potentially Brentford, the impact on potentially Marco Silva as his betting odds crash in. And we've got a bunch of other stories. We're going to all merge it into one giant show over the next 90 minutes for you. I hope you guys are all happy and healthy, doing the things you love. Johnny, how the hell are you, mate? You okay?
I'm okay. I knew it was a bit like Alistair Gold. He had a couple of days off. I knew it was coming on. I said to you, the meeting's Thursday and Friday. It's going to come. But I couldn't get it. It was a long-standing arrangement. And so I had to go. I thought, but I'm going to take my computer. Nothing can stop me. I'm totally prepared. And as I said to you, I quickly went to the toilet. And just as I sat down, boom, it happened. I was like 3 minutes behind the curve. Anyway, it is what it is. But raced along the motorway to get here to do this stream. Didn't have much interest in England-Andorra. I'm not sure what the latest score is, but
must be a cricket score, isn't it? I don't watch this.
It looked like the old age pensioners 11 when I saw it. Jordan Henderson in the middle of the park, so I wasn't.
Is he still really?
Yeah.
Henderson still. See, I don't even pay any attention to international football. I couldn't care less about it until when the World Cup comes. I'll obviously die hard again. But all the warm up games and the qualifiers, no interest. I can't believe Henderson's still part of that squad.
Yeah,
absolutely insane. Before we get into it, guys, please, if you are coming into this one from Spurs Talk Show side, if you look at the top of the comment section, there's a welcome message from me, and it does have the link to Football Inc. Your support from Spurs Talk Show would help us a great deal. So if you haven't already, really appreciate it if you can jump over to Football Inc. and spend a little bit of time over there as well to help out the algorithm and all that stuff. But yeah, you won't miss anything. And if pop back in, whichever way you're going, just enjoy the conversation. Please smash some comments as well.
Yeah. Sorry, Sean. Go on, carry it, mate.
I was going to say, just get the comments in and let us know what your thoughts are on the various topics we're going to discuss. Johnny, where do we start, mate? Let's start with the breaking news today, I guess, that Marco Silva out of Portuguese media are saying that they're actually expecting Marco Silva to be signed up. I mean, everywhere else is saying it's Thomas Frank, but what's your thoughts on Silva and the story's credit?
I think it's twofold really. Sometimes the information's put out there by betting organisations to draw money in from punters. I mean, how much money has been gambled on Marco Silva in the last 12 hours? Say. I bet you it's a considerable amount of money. Thomas Frank is still sitting there. It's fluctuating between 2 to 5 and 1 to 2. I think he is the man they want, number one. The problem is going to be Thomas Frank will want his people out. And we know with Daniel, that's been a problem in the past. Problem with Nuno. Wasn't a problem with Ange because he didn't care who he had. Strangest thing, he's not a hands-on coach, but he doesn't have his team. He'll just take anyone he can get his hands on. So, I think that might have put a spanner in the works because, what most of us have focused on, Sean, has been the money that we'd have to pay in compensation for Thomas Frank on his own, but ripping out the entirety. He's got his set piece coach and other people there that he'd probably like to take with him. Will Levy want to take him? But the Marco Silva one, creeping up on the rails. I mean, it is Derby Day, and we saw him creeping up on the rails. But other than the Portuguese newspapers leading it and some of the other Twitter accounts sort of joining in, I haven't seen anything from Romero, who's still insisting that Thomas Frank is the man.
Yeah. Well, he did say a few hours ago that Robert, he confirmed the story that was out a couple of days ago.
That Deserbi.
Yeah, Deserbi. That Tavaleri, I think, was the guy. Tavaleri used to be a bit of a stinkfest with his tips and his gimmies and all that sort of thing. But This summer he seems to have upped his game a little bit because he seems to be earlier than most others on some things that actually materialise. So one to keep an eye on. Follow him on Twitter. But yeah, Fabrizio has confirmed that Spurs did approach Roberto De Zerbi. I mean, is that a demonstration, mate? Like, how do I say this in the most polite way that doesn't scream leaving out from someone who is who's desperately trying to cling on to not being leaving out? But does it scream that we've gone through the decision of getting rid of Ange, right? And then at the same time, we're having conversations. Some reports said we had conversations with Inzaghi. I mean, it's not a problem to have conversations, I guess. Like, you're feeling the market out, but at the same time, like, when you look at the three names that are just there, right?
De
Zerbi, Silva, which we're going to come to, and obviously Thomas Frank. You couldn't have three more different styles of manager in terms of the way that they play. One of them's more pragmatic, one of them's more adaptive, one of them's aggressive and not gung-ho, but aggressive and sort of in your face, versus a Thomas Frank that's got a temperament entirely different. And then you got Marco Silva, who's more like Ange Postecoglou, I think, than either of them, but a little bit, but with a bit more kind of fluidity and defensive reinforcement. Just not, I don't think he's as good as the other two are at player development. So, like, it doesn't scream like we're looking for a specific type of manager. It looks like we're just having conversations with all and sundry. Is that a fair assessment?
Oh, I think we're looking at personalities rather than football. I think, look, the days we do not, as Spurs fans, want to go back to the flip-flop football days where we have a progressive manager in Pochettino, then we go to a pragmatic coach, and then another pragmatic coach, then a progressive coach, and then you've got a squad that doesn't fit anybody. So basically, as far as I'm concerned, you keep the same style. Now, no one plays Ange ball style, right? He was unique and it didn't work in the league, right? Okay. And before you said it worked in the final, before you said it worked in the final, he never played Ange ball in the final, right? I haven't seen Ange ball for months. Anyway, my point here is we played pragmatic football. The only football we had success with under Ange was playing pragmatic. But I would say to you that someone like Thomas Frank, for example, doesn't have one system, has numerous systems. He can play 3 at the back, 4 at the back, 5 at the back. And he scored more goals than Spurs last season with a far inferior midfield and attack. I would say,
as well.
Yeah, listen, for me, the biggest thing is the serial meltdown. First of all, we have the meltdown of Ange being sacked. Then we had the double meltdown of the people who not only wanted Ange out and the Ange in crowd, but then when Frank was announced, they had another meltdown because, oh, yes, we want him out, but we don't want that one. And the ones who wanted him in say, how could you sack him for that? So poor old Thomas Frank was being crucified, right, before he'd even kicked a ball or done anything. He hasn't even entered the club yet. And he's this, he's that, he's the other. But then, just when you think it couldn't get any worse, they bring out Marco Silva, right? Sneaking up on the rails. Then the reaction is from the Twitter and Facebook crowd. Oh, no. Silva's going way too far. Oh, no, I'm going Thomas Frank. If I have to choose between the two, I don't want any of them. But if I had to choose, I'm going Thomas Frank.
Look, Johnny, there's only a few things that are certain in life, right? Death, taxes, and you can't go a day without there being a Tottenham meltdown. A good old meltdown, a good old-fashioned meltdown.
We love a meltdown.
I mean, it's quite wild. It's quite wild. Listen, I'm not getting the same vibes that you are from the Twitter sphere or from the comment sections. Obviously, I look through the comments every day on my channel. There's fucking thousands of them, and I read through them, and I see and obviously, like, you know, this channel, or Spurs Talk Show rather, has sort of cultivated, I guess, an audience that is somewhat fitting of how we feel most of the time. Although I do think it's balanced. So I'm sure that other audiences, other channels would have different sort of vibes. But what I've always felt is that people are not saying that they don't like Thomas Frank or that he's not a good manager. The vibe that I get is that they just feel like it's a little bit underwhelming and a bit of a sideways step. And I concur with that. It's not necessarily a sideways step, but the unknowns around it versus what we had it's kind of like, well, there's all these potential disruptions. And now we're going to talk about this in a minute as well. You've got the players that are coming out. And we'll go through that stuff. But like, I feel like also when you got Matt Law coming out saying that there's massive disruption, the players are angry. I think all those things are a little bit sort of difficult to swallow because, you know, most of the time when a manager that's won something at a club ends up leaving, in whatever circumstances, acrimonious or otherwise, it's not unusual for people to send a good luck message to their previous manager. Like I've done it everywhere I've been. I've always, whenever a manager's left, I've always sent it, obviously not publicly, but like, you know, it's common, right? It's not an uncommon thing.
Look, these press, right? Let's be honest, right? This is a field day for them. When I had something that I posted, I'm not going to go into what it was I posted, but Matt Law contacted me sniffing a bit of scandal, sniffing that he could get his hands into a story and print it and all the rest of it. And I just said, there's nothing to see here, right? And I shut it down. And what I'm saying to you is that, you know, they're looking for any story, any mud that they can rake. And, you know, there's buyers. Everyone's buying a story, whether it's true or not, or it's embellished.
But most importantly, mate, it's the negative ones, right? Because everyone... Yeah. Misery sells far more than happiness, you know. And,
you know, as you quite rightly said, they've been with Ange for 2 years. Why shouldn't they say goodbye? Do you know what I mean?
100%. But my point is,
for 2 years, you'd say, "Look, thanks for the memories. Bye bye."
Yeah, good luck. Wish you well. You know. But I just think that the way that you've sort of read the room with regarding Thomas Frank is not how I have picked it. I think most people are like, I don't hate it. But it's just like
initially
worth it, you know.
I'm talking about, so just to clarify here, I was talking about the initial reaction from Ange out, and then the, you know, almost back up, you know, with Thomas Frank. It was too much. I can understand us getting rid of Ange, but we need an elite manager. What's an elite manager? We've had elite managers. Yeah. The truth is, Sean, Thomas Frank isn't sexy, right?
Yeah, that's it. You're right, exactly.
You know, his name was Thomas Francanini, right? And you know, he came from Italy. He'd be very successful, right? He'd be given a chance. What I can say to you is that in football world, in football circles, not in fan circles, not in Twitter sphere and YouTube sphere, Thomas Frank is a very highly respected coach in the community, and that's a fact. Whether you like it, I like it, or whatever, that is the fact. That is the reputation that he has as professor of tactics, hands-on coaching, and what this team and what this squad needs more than anyone else. Yeah, Frank Sexuals is
it's starting.
It's coaching. Well, this team, this squad needs coaching. They need improving. Player on player. Now, we can't get an Oliver Glasner, obviously, because of what the situation is at the moment. And we can see what a hands-on coach can really do. Look what Glasner did for Ismail Sarr, for Mateta, right? For Hamilton. Even Eze is a better player. Look at Manuz. Look at Tarek Mitchell. Even he's gone up a gear, right? And, you know, he's got rid of Anderson and he's brought in Lacroix from Wolfsburg. He's improved every single player, more or less, in that squad. And that's what you need from a top coach. And
but that's Oliver Glasner's story. That's not Thomas Frank's story.
Thomas Frank is a similar type of manager. And that's what I'm saying. He's a coach. He's a hands-on coach. What we had was a philosopher, okay, who isn't hands-on, who distances himself from the squad and allows others, strangers, which were Nick Montgomery, got sacked from Hibs, to be coaching the team. I never understood it. I never thought it would work. And I would say that this season, since Davies left for Birmingham and Scott left the medical team because of disagreement with Ange, apart from that wonderful night in Bilbao, most of it has been shocking. And, you know, got a low bar.
There's certainly a low bar. There's certainly a low bar, apart from in the cups, right? And I think that Ange will go down as a cup manager.
Correct.
As I said to you on the last show,
this season. Yeah,
but generally, like he was a cup manager at Celtic. I know he won the league there as well, but he's won cups wherever he's gone. I think he's a guy that can find the right words in the moment, and we shall see whether Thomas Frank can live for those sorts of things as well. In any event, I think that what Tottenham need right now, probably more than anything, is a bit of a stabilisation. And like you say, I agree with you that we've got a squad that is very young. The average age, I think, is the second youngest or third youngest in the Premier League.
Yeah.
If Sonny leaves, that's going to drop it even more, right? Because Sonny, and Ben Davies as well, right? If those two leave the club, then the average age will probably drop by another year or something because those two are kind of outliers. And then it looks like, for all intents and purposes, like the transfer news that's out and about, it looks like we're still going to continue in this vein of going and identifying young players like that Victor Froholt, for example, which, by the way, I really like him. I think he looks like a
very good player.
Yeah.
Before anyone puts him down. But I would say to you, he's a very good player. I mean, he's 19, very highly rated midfielder. But I think we all agree, most Spurs fans now, what we're looking for is 3 or 4 oven-ready players to bring the youngsters along. There's no doubt the talent's there, a youth talent, but you're going to go into the Champions League and be competitive and have a chance and play in the league. There's no way that Micky van der Ven and Cuti Romero are going to be able to play in the Premier League and in the Champions League twice a week. Then it's not going to happen. So therefore, the drop-off currently is going to be, it's going to be huge. Unless you're going to go out and buy an Eze, an Abuemo, say an Adam Walton and an Hincapié, 4 signings that really change the landscape, then we are going to be playing a balancing act. Let's be honest, even as it stands now.
Well, yeah, but I don't. Again, I agree with what you're saying here today. What I would say is that if Thomas Frank is the coach, like we hope he's going to be, and this is presuming it's going to be him, then I think that you can expect these things take a little bit of time, right? Even at Brentford, like it took him a year to get Damsgaard up to a decent player. It's only in year 2 or year 3, I think it is,
injuries
that he's actually started to kick into the level of the player he is now, right? But I just think that there are players in this squad that are young enough that you could see that we currently see talent in and potential, and players that are already commanding their spots, but that we have amazing high hopes for, that could be those top draw player, top player. They could be those top players. Like you could go look at a Mikey Moore, and if Thomas Frank is this this developer of youth, which he definitely is, by the way, then you might see something emerge from Mikey Moore next season that we didn't have to wait a year for if we had a proper youth player last year. If Matisse Tell is signed as a permanent deal, then you might see him convert into a better version, similar to the potential that he had at Bayern Munich 2 years ago. So maybe with Pape Sarr, same with Berghvall. Yeah, sorry, go on.
I'm just going to ask you though, if we knew, obviously we don't know at this stage. I was told that he's been told the budget that he has. If we had a limited budget or a decent budget, would you really want to, where we are now, spend the money on Matthias Tell? For me, the answer is no. It's not that I think he's a bad player. He's not going to be a very good player. But in my mind, game changer, Eze. Game changer.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
0-0, low block, can't beat the low block, pass it to him, drop the shoulder, bang, bottom corner. Bryan Mbeumo, right? Taking players out, drawing players in, creating space for others. We need a monster 6. How long will we know we need a monster 6? We've been going on about it 2 years, Sean. Monster 6, monster 6. Whether that was an Adam Walton, whether that was Edison at Atalanta, or whoever it may be, right? We need these players. And I think the thing is that Thomas Frank, having already looked to sign Archie Gray, who already looked to sign Brennan Johnson, and remember, he was going to Brentford beforehand. Now, I don't see Brennan Johnson. I mean, this is going to sound like terrible. Look, Brennan Johnson's done very well. He's our top goal scorer this season. But even those who think he had a good season scoring goals, do you really think that he's reached anywhere near what he should be capable of as a 90-minute footballer? And
this is the point I'm trying to make, though. if Thomas Frank can coach,
Right,
like we all
exactly.
know he can, then do we have some gems within
Yes.
our squad
Yes.
that will? So then, like the idea of going and getting 4 up and ready players, yeah, for sure. Dream world scenario, Daniel Levy or whoever else is going to be in charge. And I have, but before I come to Voxaholics, very generous super chat. Thank you, mate. Dino's put in a thing here, but so just want to just reference this. We're going to come back to it in a second, but we've got to talk about the Levy story, right? We have to talk about this noise that Lee McQueen put out on Last Word on Spurs last night, saying that from what he's heard, and I obviously don't know his sources or whatever, but he says that he's entirely confident that next week, but essentially Charrington is now the guy in charge. Charrington's running the show, which, like, on the one hand, it's music to a lot of people's ears. Sorry, I'm going to pause it and come to it. So I'm going to do the super chat first. We've got to talk about the Daniel Levy thing in a second.
We're pivoting.
Quickly. Yeah, sorry, I'm on a random weave. Just before I come to that, just finish the point. Yeah, if we get those 3 or 4 world-class players in, so superb stuff. Or not world-class, top-draw players, superb stuff. But even if you get 2 of them in, do you think that there is enough quality in the squad? Would you rather Daniel Levy or whoever drop 100 million quid on a 60 million pound player and a 40 million pound player in whatever position, like Eze and a 6, for example, and then work with what we have? Or would you rather him go after 4 players of 30 million pound each and do what we've done for years before?
Listen, we got Champions League now. There's no excuses, right? Our turnover was 4% down only, with no European football. Okay, we are going in now. That was 6 non-football events. We're now going to have 30 non-football events. That's generating well over 30-40 million pounds easy, right?
There's 18 this summer, isn't there? There's 18 concerts this summer alone.
Right. It's madness. The uptick in the 30 events. I was told they made 1.2 million on alcohol at the Nigel Benn fight, right? Okay, yeah. So just say 40 million. You've got 40 million coming from that. You've got the massive uptick in Champions League money, much more so than when we were in it in 2019. It's unrecognisable, the amount of money that's involved. Plus, now there's an extra 2 home games that weren't there before, right?
Yeah, so you probably if you do
extra home game. Yes, sorry.
If you get to, let's say you sneak into the playoff round, right? You don't get the top 8, but let's say you get 9th to 24.
Still massive money.
Yeah, you're going to make about 80 million quid, maybe 80 to 90 million quid from the tournament if you do well enough in the various games. Plus, there's probably another 15 million quid, 20 million quid there via the contracts, the commercial contracts, and the match day.
We haven't included. What we haven't included is the bonuses received from the club, like AIA for winning a European trophy. The bonuses now that their brand is going to be on a much bigger, wider scope. They get bonuses for being in the Champions League.
Yeah,
it's all plus. And
record revenue. Next season's going to be record revenue at the club.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be record-breaking revenue. So what I'm saying to you, Sean, is what we spoke about earlier. There is absolutely no excuse this summer for Daniel Levy not to be breaking either the transfer record or the wage structure record, right? At 42%, we need to be breaking it big time now. And quite honestly, I wouldn't be satisfied with two signings. I think if you start, look, and Waymo's a long shot, right? Eze's maybe more achievable because now we're in the Champions League. He's a Spurs player. 65 million pounds, right? He's worth every penny, right? If we could bring in like a Hincapié, who's like a monster left back, and we're bringing in a monster 6, I could maybe get away with that. I could handle that. But you can't do really less than 3 top players.
So you're okay then with Solanke and Richalison being up top?
I don't think we're going to have a choice. But listen, let me tell you another thing. This is the other thing about Thomas Frank. Thomas Frank will play 2 up front at times, depending on the opposition. So you will see occasions where you see Solanke and Richarlison. That's if they stay fit.
The other thing, when we're adding up all of the various the revenue generating items, though, you have to also balance that off with the costs will go up exponentially. Cost of putting on all those events goes up, right? So, like,
come on.
No, I'm just, it's a relevant point. Yeah. And on top of that, if we do sell Sonny this summer, then hopefully we'll be able to get 40, 50 million for him, which would be great if we could. And I think there's just, it's a perfect time because we're not going to win another trophy or do anything of that magnitude in the next couple of years. And so, like, why is he hanging around for another project when he's not going to be? He's going to be used less and less and less. It's a perfect time to say goodbye. But if you do that, then the other impact, which I've never actually figured out how much money he brings in to the club. Because I know that for every shirt that you sell for £100, about 80 quid of it goes to Nike, right? So, like, the club don't get anywhere near.
It was a terrible deal during the COVID.
Yeah,
we signed a 20-year deal? Like, we signed a deal. Nike knew we were in trouble.
Yeah, took advantage.
And they took massive advantage, and we're stuck with them from here to eternity. But look, the thing is here that I think, if we sell Sonny, I think it's the right thing. He's been a fantastic servant, fantastic player. But if we sell him, we have to show Cuti Romero. I know a lot of people don't care if he goes. I do, personally. But we need to show Cuti Romero this club has ambition. It's all very well having a new board, right, for Charrington to come in and Vinay to come in and for us to attract inward investment. But we aren't interested in inward investment just to build a hotel and just to build extra training facilities. What we want to do is see those things, fantastic, but we want to see investment into the squad. And if inward investment means that we will be able to then compete with buying 50 million, 60 million pound players from here on in and being that competitive with the revenue streams that we can produce, then the club is on an upward trajectory. But if we take this window, like you said, there's no excuse now in this window.
The reality is, though.
Yeah, but you said it. Remember?
No. I'm just saying that the reality, the unknown that I did 100% say, and I'll stand by. Like, there's no excuse in not doing it. But the reality is that I think we're now working in a different environment. If there's truth to the idea, and again, we're going to come on to Daniel Levy in a minute. But if there's truth to the fact that he's stepping down or getting forced out because Charrington's got some sort of, I mean, I always was under the impression that non-exec directors don't have the voting rights, but I've seen other information that says that he's being transferred to an exec director and therefore he gets the vote. And either way, right, we'll have to talk about that stuff in a second. But let me get to Voxaholics super chat. Thank you very much, Voxaholic, mate. Very, very cool of you. Love the name as well. Been watching you guys for well over a year now. I really love your content. Appreciate that, buddy. Do you guys think we will be in the same boat next year? Also, if it is Frank, do you still stand by the guy after the guy view? Oh, the guy before the guy before the guy. Yeah, well, I'll take that part first. I'll let Johnny answer the first part. The guy before the guy. Well, look, it turned out that Ange was the guy for what it's worth. Like, he won the fucking trophy, didn't he? So it turned out he was the guy. He just wasn't the guy for me. And obviously he was the guy for a lot of people. But so on that basis, then the whole guy before the guy thing is a bit of a dead in the water. But I always said that Ange was going to be, it wasn't Ange that was the guy, but it was anybody. I was like, anybody that comes into the club following Conte with all of the transition, that's the reason why. It doesn't matter who you are, you're going to struggle, right? You're going to struggle because of the pivot, the transition, the stresses, the struggles, all this shit. And look, fair play to Ange on that regard. Like, he got it done in the end, right? In terms of the cup. But I think the league is very important. In terms of the guy after the guy before the guy, which is this guy, Thomas Frank, I think that we'll still be here. I think we'll be back doing this again in 2 years' time. Because I don't think that Tottenham are a club that can keep their fans patient long enough. And I think that as soon as there is a downtick in the various strategies that we're putting in, even our owners are too trigger happy with thinking that, the next solution is the one. Now, I personally like fresh chapters. I always think it's a nice clean slate and we go again and it's exciting. Like, you feel sad about the end of one chapter, but then you very quickly move into the optimism of what could be. But I just think that Tottenham are a team that will be perennially going through two, maybe, in good times, 3-year cycles. But yeah, I do think we're back here again. So yeah, I don't think that Frank is the guy before the guy. Maybe he's the guy before the guy after all. And the next guy could be Pochettino or something. And that's the guy I wanted to see come back, but that's not going to happen until probably 2027. Johnny, what do you reckon, mate? Do you reckon we're going to be here in a year's time or 2 years' time?
I think a lot of people would like us to be here in a year's time, where Mauricio Pochettino has been knocked out of the World Cup, managing United States, and he becomes free. Our pre-season would have already started at that stage, I think, the end of July. But he could be the next guy in. But look, I think the thing is, we're almost wishing he would fail. I think, I feel sorry for Thomas Frank, because Ange Postecoglou, we go on about Levy pulling the trigger, but he could have pulled the trigger. Let's get this right. Daniel Levy could have pulled this trigger on Ange Postecoglou many times, okay, from probably last March through to Christmas. There's been lots of incidents, with fans, calling out the fans, Man City, Fulham, coming over to fans, Bournemouth, terrible results. The record, people were saying he'll be gone by Christmas. Fan after fan after fan, and me included. I never thought he'd last till Christmas, I'll be honest. But Levy never pulled the trigger. Even that disastrous couple of cup competitions, those two terrible performances back to back against Aston Villa and Liverpool, a lot of people thought that's him done. We need to get rid of him. But Levy, he stood steadfast. So you have to give Levy credit for that, because I would have sacked him. Many would have sacked him, but he didn't. He saw it through to the end. So this thing with Thomas Frank coming in and not being given a chance, I don't think he will be given a chance, because let's be honest, like I said to you offline before, if he's not unbeaten in the first 10 games, it's going to be, well, he's not as good as Ange. Ange was unbeaten in the first 10 games, but not adding no context to that, like beating Sheffield United, like we just won the European Championships, in the 97th minute against the team that got relegated. And, a couple of weeks, the game against Luton, where we managed to scrape a 1-0, or the game against Liverpool, where, Liverpool were robbed by VAR and terrible refereeing decisions. There is some context to that. And I would just like to see him given a chance. But I fear that whereas Ange, listen, I think it's worked out brilliantly for Ange, because whatever club he goes to now,
100%.
Right, even if he has a terrible, terrible start, all he needs to is utter those immortal lines, I always win in my second year, right? And who's going to argue? Who's going to argue? He's going to have to be given a 2 or 3 year contract wherever he goes, right? And that's the line he's going to use until it doesn't work anymore. So good on him. Unfortunately, Ange, Silva, Frank, Silva, I don't think they're going to get any time whatsoever before the fan base is on them, because we've come off of this trophy trip. But what I'd like to know, Sean, is when Ange says it's impossible to make a run and have a good performance in the league and in the Europa League games, where we're playing Elfsborg, Karabag, AZ Alkmaar, Bodo, right? How the hell are you going to judge someone who's going in with more or less the same squad to play the Champions League again, where you cannot rest anybody? He's not going to get that leeway, is he, the new coach?
No, he's not going to get the leeway. Look, if the next manager has as many injuries as Ange Postecoglou did, and I know every club gets injuries, but I think that there is context, right? Like if you'd much rather 5 players out across your squad than 3 from the same area of your squad, right? You know what I mean? And so, and depending on the kind of frequency of them, who they happen to, when they happen in the season, what games they miss, how long they're out for. And if there's other people out that play in the same position, you end up down to like what we were doing, like third choice goalkeeper and like playing a midfielder, 18-year-old midfielder. Like there is context there that I think can't be kind of dismissed. And if that same thing was to be recreated, I think even with Pep Guardiola, I think there'd be problems at Tottenham, right? So I think that, some people sort of suggest that when he was saying those things, he's saying them within the context of the environment within injuries. But for me, you can go back to season 1 when we didn't have anything to fight for in the Europa League, and we had exactly the same situation, nowhere near as bad. And he said, "Let's wait and see. Just wait until we get all our players back." And we all banked on it. Or when Maddison gets back, when Van der Ven gets back, when Romero gets back, all that stuff. We're going to see a different version of Tottenham, and we didn't. We saw the same sort of gradual decline that started after Chelsea and sort of finished against Brighton 2 weeks ago. So I think that there is it's going to be problematic for any manager. And if they start making the same sort of excuses, you know what actually pissed me off? It was the longest time when Ange was saying, "I'm not one to make excuses, but," and then would list all the reasons why, all the excuses under the sun. Can
I just say, can I ask a question here? Right, look, he rested players in Europe, played the kids, so that we had a fit squad to play Ipswich at home and Leicester at home, and we lost both games. Okay, is that in any shape, way, or form acceptable? No, it's not. So what I'm saying is, if Ange was still here, how much harder would it be to have a Champions League campaign and a league campaign? We are going into a Champions League. Everyone said it's not really good enough for the Europa League and the league. That's what everyone has said, right? That's what everyone said. You can't do both. You can't have
you have to figure out a way to do both. And that, I guess, comes back down to better squad management, a better medical team. Like, one of the most important things that we improve on this summer is obviously making sure that those things are not things, they're not quick fixes, are they? They're like, whoever the new medical team.
Underway, mate. It's been underway. It's
I know, but those people are going to have to come in, get to know, half of the rehab space is understanding the individuals of the player, because no two bodies are the same. So those things just take time, but you'd hope that there's going to be dramatic improvements in there. Ian, I did just mention, mate, I didn't say Ange isn't the guy. I said whoever the next guy was after Conte wasn't going to be there. It wasn't a slight on Ange. It was a slight on the situation. But to answer your question, I don't know. I don't think Frank is going to be the guy. No, I don't personally have the same faith that Johnny does in him. But I don't. I look around the rest. I don't want Marco Silva. But the people that I would want aren't going to come. So
to quantify this, right? I just saying to you, he's a very good coach, right?
Yeah, I hear that.
And Postecoglou is not a coach. He's not on the training pitch improving individual players. He uses the others for that. And there was one question there that said last word of Spurs.
Yeah, so this is, I'll bring this up, right?
So I was just to say that one of the criteria for being a club to use our stadium, Tottenham Stadium, for the European Championships is that you have to provide a hotel on site.
Are you certain on that? Because I saw someone saying
right at the beginning.
Someone heard you say that on a previous show. I wasn't aware of it. And then someone said he scoured the internet looking for any information regarding that, and he can't find it anywhere. But that doesn't mean it's not true. It's just I don't know. So
that's what I was told prior to the when it was being touted and when we were looking for the 2028.
Either way, though, I cannot believe for a second, because there was that WhatsApp message that was sent around that I got fooled by Sim from We Are Tottenham TV, who told me it was Donna Cullen's son, and he was serious, or I thought he was serious, and I didn't know. So I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I went and mentioned it. Then afterwards, he said he was joking. But that all of the things that Lee said last night were in that WhatsApp message, and that WhatsApp message was sort of resoundingly debunked. Lee McQueen, yeah. So I don't know anything. Right? I'm not in any way poo-pooing Lee's comments at all. I've got no idea at all. But for what it's worth, so everything that he said about the hotel being moved and that Daniel Levy was going to get set down and all those things, that was basically the tone of that WhatsApp message that I think has subsequently come out and been told that it's that a lot of that was fake.
Just laughing at all this. I'm just laughing at all this, Sean, because it's funny. Like I said, I'm going to keep banging on about it, but back in March when you and I were talking about Charrington, and I was saying this is a major game changer, him coming in as as Lewis's his private banker. No one gave a shit. No one was even interested in that. And even when Vinay came in, and I said that's another massive piece of the jigsaw, people were saying we don't want Arsenal scum on the board. What's all that about? They didn't see the big picture. This is big financial clout and credibility on the board. Something is going on. There's inward investment. This going to come. and they need it for the capital intensive project. I've been singing the same thing for weeks and weeks and weeks. This isn't something that's just jumped on because someone saw a text.
No,
I've been talking about this for
what it's worth, though, that information that they were saying last night, like when I got so I spoke to the sports correspondent at Al Jazeera, and they're in Doha, right, which is Qatar.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, any insight you can give us?" After the thing, he said, "Oh, thanks for the interview, whatever." I said, "Is there any insight?" And he said, "He goes, I don't know, but in the corridors around here, I keep hearing from local people within Al Jazeera in Doha. They're saying, oh, this is the first of many changes that are quite dramatic, right?" So, and I was like, "What does that mean? Does that mean Qatar are going to be buying?" He said, "I don't know. It could mean anything at all, but he said it's the first of many." So, like, I don't like. I have no idea, but if people in Doha are saying that, and I'll take him as well. I've got no idea if he's like he didn't expand that in any way, shape, or form. Then, like, that could just mean the same thing as what you're talking about, as what Lee's referencing, that WhatsApp's referencing, that there's just a lot of boardroom shake-up, or it might mean something else. But like for sure, I guess it doesn't really matter who's who was first on it. It's important to chew over what are the connotations of it, mate. Like, if Daniel Levy is stepping back or forced to because of Charrington, like, is Charrington's a finance guy? Like, if everyone's celebrating Ding Dong, the donut's dead, but then you're going to bring in another finance guy that doesn't know anything about football either. So, like, why is everyone happy about that?
No. Because this is what I'm saying. Look, Sean, right? It's not a case of who's first, right? I'm just saying. I'm talking.
I don't mean you. I mean,
I was talking about it months ago. No one was interested, and I'm banging on about a load of boring crap about resetting on the board, what it means, the fact that we couldn't get the finance for these projects. We don't have the money. All I got was the club's got loads of money. What are you talking about? We don't have loads of money for any of these projects, for White Webs, the Hotspur Way medical development, and the hotel. And I felt that it was inevitable. These guys have come onto the board. Charrington is nothing to do with football. He's to do with finance. Right. But what it is the fact that Vinay is a football person. He spent 20 years at Arsenal building up the women's team, and he understands it. And fan liaison as well, something else that he's very good at. I just think it's the start of something.
Do you actually believe they're going to shelve the hotel? They've already done the groundworks on it, and they bought the land and all that shit.
I haven't said any of it because it's all crap. I just said to you, it's all going to be financed, but they need the money in. Nothing can be done.
I know you're not saying that, but I'm saying other people are saying that. I'm saying that to me seems wildly missing the mark, right?
Rubbish.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Right.
Rubbish. As far as I'm concerned, absolute rubbish. Yeah, it's shelved until the money comes in. Of course it is, because they need the finance. Okay.
Yeah.
If I've got a house, but right now I've got a bit of land, but I can't build on it, he shelved it. No, I haven't shelved it. I just got to wait till I get the finance and planning permission. They got the planning permission. Listen, across the road from the stadium is a massive property development, right? All ready to go, all with planning permission, that should have started over 2 years ago now. It's like creating a Wembley Way from the stadium, okay? Knocking down new flats, public parks, lovely. But there's no appetite. There's no appetite for it right now because it needs financing. So
on top of that, mate, the third party issues, mate. I don't know if it's the same where you live, bro, but like there's more for sale signs popping up outside my road than there is in Amsterdam's red light district. It's wild, mate. They're everywhere. Every day there's people outside banging new signs in. I feel like the economy must be going into a bit of a, that's a leading indicator for me. Like when you walk around and you see for sale signs everywhere, it tells you that there's no confidence in the real estate market. And if there's no confidence in the real estate market, is that like the knock-on effect of that is, construction, all those things. So like I just wonder whether that's also a factor, right? The nervousness around the economy, the sanctions, the tariffs, Trump, Elon Musk, all these.
What it is
can have an impact in decision making.
What it is unfortunately right now, the government might want to build 200,000 homes. Unfortunately, we sent half of Poland and whatever back to Poland. We have a massive shortage of labour labour costs have gone through the roof, and raw materials have gone through the roof. So the building cost of the development, when set out and went to a planning application, was here, and now it's up here. So a lot of it isn't viable, a viable development. I could see a scenario, for example, where someone comes in and he remains the chairman, but not the head of football, and he's involved in the property development side, because that's where he's been involved in previously with Paul Kemsley and that previously, when they were buying up all the property around the stadium over the last 10, 15 years. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's but as far as like what you see then this future, presuming like forget about the investment, like let's talk about the right now, the short term. If you were a betting man, is Daniel Levy going to be chairman?
He's not going.
I'm not saying he's going in, like he's not going to sell his stake, obviously. But ultimately, if Vivian Lewis wants someone else in charge, he's not the boss, right? Like she's the boss.
She's not the boss, because she's not the boss. She's the daughter of Joe Lewis, right? Yeah. Okay. They got the lawyers who are in charge of the trust. Yeah. In the Bahamas. 2 lawyers. I gave you the name last time. I can't remember the names off the top of my head. And she is a beneficiary of the trust. So
what I'm saying, forget about her then, mate. I'm just saying, like, if people that are in charge of the majority stake want change, then they can influence it by getting into the ears of the people on the board, right?
So that's why Charrington is there. That's why Charrington's been put on the board,
right?
To look after Joe Lewis's interests and the trust's interests. The thing, whether or not we're surmising that they're not happy with the fact that so many people have come, looked at the club and making offers, and they're all falling apart at the final hurdle. And to say, well, hang on a minute, we need to see, Charrington's been there to oversee it and look out for him. We don't know that. But definitely his presence on the board, along with Vinay, who's got, very well, listen, everyone was after him when he left Arsenal. Private equity in America, top private equity companies in Saudi Arabia. He was offered a top job at Newcastle. He's highly rated. And, he has a broad spectrum of job remits that he's had throughout his progression at Arsenal over the 20 years.
Yeah.
He bought in.
I can't wait for him to get in. If Charrington, I just think if there's any truth to the fact that there is a power struggle, right? And it's a tweet that I put out the second that Donna Cullen was resigned. I was like, it's too coincidental. It's too convenient. The timing doesn't add up. Yes, she might have been retired, but all the noise now is that she was forced to step down, which is what it sounded like there was. I know you disagree with it, Johnny, but to me,
yeah, go on. I was just going to say it could sound like that, but last year was told she was asked to stay on for an extra year by Daniel, and she'll be stepping down next year. So it's that
noise. Last year the noise was she's planning to retire, and then it didn't come out why she stayed on for a year, and it's been filled in the blanks retrospectively. But I'm just saying the timing of it on the day that Vinny was supposed to start, then that was kicked back by a week. I think it's my take. I think that there is something going on. I think that the delay in getting the decision around Ange Postecoglou is completely inexcusable. If it was just, we've got 2 weeks, we're going to chew it over. And the fact that they've done that now, and then also are now chewing over who they want as a manager. Like, I know Tottenham have got a history of like not really having the next phase, the next plan figured out until the next one or the previous one finishes. Yeah. But like, I just think that they're not all idiots, and I think that they know that the momentum was there to make these sorts of things a bit smoother, a bit happen a bit quicker. And you didn't need Ange to go on a holiday. You could have done that job. You could have let him go a week earlier. I can't for the life of me. It doesn't make any sense to me. And so I think there is some sort of change. But then people that are so blinkered by their Levy out stance, and it's fair enough if you are, it's cool. I get it. But what I'm seeing now on Twitter is like this ding dong, the donut's almost dead. Another failed project. And I'm just like, what is going on with this fan base? So you want Charrington in because you want a football guy, but he's not a football guy. He's just another version of Daniel Levy in a different skin. And then you're saying that the project failed. I'm like, well, I don't get it, mate. Because if you were Ange in, and you're mad at Levy or the club for sacking the guy that you wanted, then you wanted him to stay because he won the trophy. So the project didn't fail by that metric. And if you're Ange out and you're angry that he got sacked, that doesn't make any sense either because you got your way. So you could be pissed off that Ange got sacked if you were Ange in. But for me, I called it 2 weeks ago. I said it's exactly what's going to fucking happen. Half the people that are Ange in are Australian fans that are temporary Tottenham fans. Again, no disrespect to genuine Australians that are Tottenham fans, but a lot of the fans come from Celtic Australia, and half of them are not going to disappear. I've seen it in the comment sections. Like, oh, thank fuck, I haven't got to support this shit club anymore. Like, there was so many in my comments recently, and I think that a lot of the other Anjin people, a lot of them are just Levy outers that saw the writing on the wall and are using it as a mask to be able to get their drum banging again. Don't agree?
No, look, I haven't changed my stance. I'm not flip-flop. I've said what's going to happen. I said the change is coming. I said the change is coming months ago, right? It's happened. This was just the start. And, you know, it's happening. The medical staff is happening. Fabio's coming back. I said that ages ago as well. So, like, look, the thing is, what I'm trying to say here is, you know, it ain't going to be built in a day. We know whether Levy goes today or tomorrow. The thing that this club needs right now is inward investment, okay? Because I don't want to hear, look, they ain't going to be putting in any more money into the club, Sean. We know that. They've stated it. Joe Lewis stated it about 2.5 years ago. He's not putting any more money in. And if they're putting any more money in, the only person that's getting diluted will be Daniel. So it ain't happening. It's not happening. So, you know, things are changing. You know, we've already seen massive change. We've seen Ange go. We've seen Charrington come in. We've seen Vinny come in, right? We've seen change already, and there's more coming. So, you know, just be patient, you know?
Yeah, but at the same time, like, I need them to get in, and I need there to be... I mean, we've still got to wait. Here's a question for you. Do you think that if Paratici's the guy that's... if he is going to come back, and he's not back until July the 1st.
No, he's back. Listen.
Well, we haven't. I mean, there's no movement on any players, is there? We're not advanced with anyone. So we're not even really linked with anyone. It's all just bullshit.
Listen. Let me tell you, right?
Because it's Paratici.
Sean.
Who does the plate spinning thing?
Cool, Sean. Right, mate. Honestly, football conversations about transfers beginning flipping March and April, mate. Months ago. Right? Months ago. Do you think Cunha conversation with Man United, the fact that we haven't pulled the trigger is another matter. Conversations take place over months.
I know how it works, mate. I'm just saying that we haven't had, there's no concrete links with us for anyone. And under Paratici's previous reign, there was 4 million links a day because that was the way he conducted his business. He used the media to get the interest. So I'm saying that there's none of that. So I'm saying, is Paratici's delayed arrival a demonstration that we won't do business until late?
No.
Okay.
Just because he can't officially come in, Sean. Come on, mate. Come on. You ain't green behind the ears, mate. Come on. Just because he officially can't start, right?
You're not listening to what I'm saying, mate. I don't think you're listening to what I'm saying. I acknowledge that. I'm saying, but the links aren't there. There's no links. There's fuck all links. The links we're getting are from... I'm having to go back to teamtalk.com to get my daily videos out.
They were coming in every minute. Come on, we've had them. We've had the bullshit links. Sane and all the rest of them, yeah? We've had all the links.
Sane is probably the only one that got that might have had the
bullshit links, right? Okay, we've had loads of them. We've had loads. The thing is here, right? You know, you want it, you know, you want to keep Lang. I heard all the thing. Lang's brilliant. Lang said, no, he's not. No, he's not. Neither is Scott Munn. I think the whole trio, Scott Munn, the cyclist, Olympic cyclist, bullshit. He never had a proper football background. If you're going to say that Scott Munn and Vinny are even remotely comparable, they're not. Vinny's on another level. 20 years at Arsenal, mate, running a football club. whatever you might hate them, but at the end of the day, he's got a better background. Johan Lang, his best thing that he's done is brought in Lucas Berghvall. That's his best deal, and he'll be remembered for that.
According to Matt Law, he's staying.
I didn't say he wasn't staying, but if you think he's working under, I mean, I saw one where he's gonna be helped by Fabio. Yeah, okay. Yes, Johan. In your dreams, mate.
I didn't say that you didn't say he was. I'm just saying, referencing this thing.
In your dreams,
Johan has remained as sporting director to lead the search for a new head coach. Sporting director is the top spot. So is that a temporary thing, or do you think that is a does that
has not come back to work under Johan Lang? Okay, simple as that.
I'm saying, but Matt Law has said that he's remained as
Matt Law can say what he wants.
Well, he's, with all due respect, mate, he's someone who's tied into the club. He gets fed stories.
If you want to believe that Fabio is working for Johan Lang, then that's fair enough.
I'm saying we don't even know if Fabio's coming back for sure yet. We think we do. All the stories said that, but then there's been no noise about Fabio Paratici forever, has there? Johnny, mate, if you're, I don't know, mate, dude, you say, I don't know what to make of it, mate. You say you can't talk about these things, but you're saying these things.
Drop it, move on.
Well, but we're having a conversation about Johan Lang. I don't know where's this energy coming from, mate. It's a strange one. I'm just having a conversation with you. This Matt Law is the Daily Telegraph.
I'm just saying that he's saying that Fabio will be working for Fabio will be helping and working for Johan Lang, and I'm just saying
that he's being helped by Fabio Paratici. He's not working underneath him, right? They're saying that, yeah. So is it I mean, what does that?
If you think he's been the director of football, right, for Juventus for 10 years, and he's going to come to Spurs and work under or by the side of Johan Lang,
it doesn't say he's working under it. It says help. So could it not be that they just have two different remits? But one of them is looking for certain types of players. Maybe Johan Lang is going to work. I mean, I think it's a fucking too many Chiefs thing. It doesn't make any sense to me. If that's true, I think it's stupid. I think that Johan Lang should be either don't go with Fabio Paratici if they value Johan Lang's effort, and clearly they value Johan Lang more than they value Scott Munn or Ange Postecoglou, because Postecoglou's been kicked out, Scott Munn's been kicked out. If he's staying, then I think that the idea of them working I agree with you, by the way, if they are working hand in hand and they've got different, it's
who would you put your money on?
Who would I rather have?
No, who would you put your money on? If I'm looking at the squad, of Fabio Paratici's signings for this club, going through them, bar two probably crappy ones, on the whole, right? On the whole, Destiny Udogie, 15 million, Pape Matar Sarr, 12 million, Vicario, 17 million, Porro, 40 million, Romero, Benton Core, 17 million, Kulu, 35 million, right?
Yeah.
I look at his signings, and I don't see value for money. Listen, Berghvall is. I said to you, it's like his European trophy, really, isn't it? That for him.
Yeah, but is that enough? Is one because I think he massively overpaid for Archie Gray. Overpaid for Archie Gray. Said it at the time. I really liked Archie Gray when I looked at him, but I one of my more popular videos. I said, it's an outrageous amount of money to pay for someone who has never kicked a Premier League ball, right? So,
What about Solanke? Do you think 65 million for Solanke was not toppy?
Look, yes, of course. I think you can make the argument, but at the same time, I think the context of the environment was that, first of all, he's English, he's homegrown. You pay the Premier League tax, you pay the English tax. Second of all, there was a lot of transfer, a lot of desires for strikers, and very little supply, a lot of demand at the time. I think that, if someone like Gyökeres goes for something similar, then obviously that will kind of be used as a benchmark, right? Like a value benchmark or like a comparison basis. But I think that the environments were different. I like Solanke. I know not everyone does. I think a lot of Solanke's output is recognised in Brennan Johnson's numbers, for example. But you have to kind of think outside the box to come to that conclusion. If people just look at the stats, then they'll say 9 Premier League goals, not good enough, and that's fine if that's where I choose to not think of it that way.
Okay, so I'll ask you: do you think you needed data to find Dom Solanke? Do you think he used data to find Dom Solanke at 65 million?
No, but
because I think data would have found you Gyökeres or other strikers. It wouldn't have identified Dom Solanke.
Right.
It happened to be that Dom Solanke was a player that they could get hold of. So they made the data fit the player rather than looking and using the data to find the player, is what I'm saying. That's what the data model is used for.
Yeah, no, I hear you on that.
And Lang's used it for.
Do you think we're doing the data to the same degree as like Brentford and Brighton are though? Like we haven't got our own company doing it. We're probably just using fucking Y-Scout.
No, we're not.
You know?
No, there's a guy who's gone in there. There's a guy who's went in there when Fabio was there, offering his services and his system. It was tested out. So we're going in there probably now, about 4 years now. It's about 4 years in now. 4 years in.
Look, if this Victor Froholt again though, right? Like it's like Victor Froholt is the Danish player of the year. You know, like you kind of go, I could have probably just typed in who's the Icelandic player of the year under the age of 23. Like, I don't, you know what I mean? Like I'm not sure if
is it. It's not just.
I know, but I'm saying that these young players that we're linked with, like Hugo Larsson, right? Like anybody who watches German football will know of Hugo Larsson. You don't need the data. Like again, I'm with you on the point, by the way, that like the data fits the initial the initiative rather than the initiative fits the data, that finds the player. So I'm completely with you. You're putting we put the cart before the horse. And on that basis, I'm completely with you as well. And by the way, I feel like we sound like we're having an argument here, but I'm actually it's really strange. Like I just feel like I find the whole story about like if he's staying on as sporting director, then if Paratici comes in and is getting given a role above Johan Lang, I think that's problematic because like
why?
Johan Lang's not a kid.
Why?
I think you've got too many cooks.
Okay, so who's the cook you're choosing?
Paratici all day long.
Yeah,
100%. But I'm saying, so why are we fucking keeping Lang then?
Well, I said that right from the off. Johnny,
why are we having an argument when we both agree?
He is not coming in. I can just tell you, he has not come in to work under Johan Lang or be answerable to Johan Lang. That's it. In a nutshell.
And that's what I mean. I wasn't saying that.
His ego will not allow it to happen, mate. It won't.
You think he'll quit?
He just won't do. He doesn't need to.
No, I mean, so you think Johan Lang will? Because if they both start the season together, I think either pecking order. I don't think Johan Lang will want to work for the previous.
Who got demoted
at Villa?
At Villa.
Yeah,
right?
I know. Yeah,
Moshi, right? So, like, look, it's if we're moving,
there's going to be conflicts there, mate. Because Johan Lang came in when Paratici was here prior. Then Paratici obviously had to step down because of his legal issues. Then he's working in consultancy roles. Johnny, you've worked in organisations before. In fact, you've told me a story about a guy that used to be that you worked with, right? That was just like fucking like that all the time. Yeah, I've been there. People want their if they're given some title of director, they want the reins. They want to have the say. And if somebody else sees football through a different lens, and I fucking guarantee you that Paratici and Johan Lang do not view football through the same lens, completely different
characters.
It can't work. It cannot work. I don't care whether it's Lang above Paratici or Paratici above Lang. There will be fucking fights galore.
Listen, look, Paratici came in and completely changed the academy. The guy's on another level, right? It's like, honestly, it's like comparing Champions League, in my opinion, to the conference. That's my opinion. Listen, some will say, I'm wrong, but I just don't believe it. I mean, I can't say everything I know. He is a quality director of football.
I think everyone pretty much agrees.
He can see a player and know a player very, very quickly, right? He's the eye test and the data test. He works with both of them combined. And yes, he's an opportunist. We know he's an opportunist. Look at the two late buys that he bought from Juventus in Bentancur and Kulu. That everyone went, oh, who are these two? Like, oh, typical Spurs. They changed our season. And they're still there. And they're still a fundamental part of this squad. And when you look at the mainstay of the team, still the vast majority of it is Fabio's. But the thing is now with I can't see. I could see someone like Fabio and Silva clashing more so than I could see Fabio and. Can
you imagine De Zerbi?
Oh my God! Yeah, I know.
You put your gun down, guys. Listen, there's 1,200 people here. It's insane over the two channels. If you are here on Spurs Talk Show, please just jump up to the comment section. The top of the comment section, there's a pinned link, and click on it. And spend a little bit of time over on Football Inc. But that's our second channel where we're streaming here today because this is the main talking point of the day, obviously. But tomorrow we'll be back on over there talking about all things football, whatever that is. VAR to
finances,
VAR,
transfers,
everything. So please, smash that like button. Please smash the subscribe on both as well. Totspur63, thank you, mate, for the super chat. Says Charrington sounds like he should be a character in Succession. The running of Spurs is as equally absurd as the TV series. But yeah, man, it's bonkers here. Like, and I kind of wouldn't have it any other way. Like, imagine if you were a manager, like if you were a fan of, I don't know, where isn't there that much drama at the moment? Like, if you were a manager of Fulham, if you're a fan of Fulham, there's nothing really going on in the world of Fulham, is there? Like, it'd be boring as hell being a fan of Fulham. You know, you like a bit of drama. You love it. That's why we keep coming back. Have our chances of winning the Super Cup increased?
Massively, because basically what we're going to do, we're going to have a new coach and then we're going to park it in front of the goal when we play PSG.
Yeah. I just think a little bit of part of me is like, if the Super Cup was within 3 weeks, if it was at the end of the season rather than the start of the season, I think you should have given it to Ange, you know? But the fact that it's at the start of next season means you can't obviously do that. But like, can you imagine if Thomas Frank comes in and
his first major game,
wins a trophy in his first game? Yeah, the most successful manager of all time on a trophies per minute basis.
Broken all records.
Yeah, never to be broken again. 100%. Thank you, Mort. Appreciate you, mate. And then Graham Spurs GCTV says, thanks. Strange things are afoot at the Circle K, Shawnee. Yeah, mate. I mean, look, I don't even know if there was a few transfer stories we can talk about. Just wanted to show you this stuff, mate. I've sort of bookmarked a couple of tweets for us to thank you, Graham. So Peter Chat, so Return of the Shelf, who someone was telling me
weeks ago, Sean. Where were these people weeks ago when I was going on about it? No one was interested.
Well, yeah, I mean,
all the same crap that I
basically saying the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Thomas Frank is interested in taking over from Postecoglou, according to Matt Law. Frank would ideally want to take a number of members of his Brentford backroom staff with him to Tottenham. Now, we spoke about this at the start, right? That's not as problematic now that Ryan Mason's out of the way? Do you expect Matty Wells to go with Ryan Mason? Because they're best mates, aren't they? So Matty Wells might go with Ryan Mason to West Brom once he gets his feet under the.
I don't know. I think Matty Wells may want to stay on. The interesting thing is, I've forgotten his name now. Not the set piece coach. It's one of his coaches, innovative coach.
Villa?
No, Thomas Frank.
Oh.
Anyway, he's the guy that came up with the idea with Frank about blitzing defenses in the opening 3 minutes, where they designed this system to just overload and catch them by surprise. And you saw Brentford early part of the season. You're looking for that edge here and there, and they did it. I'm not sure how many times they did it, but they did it quite a few times at the beginning of the season. I mean, they even scored goals in the 3rd minute. They weren't all in the first, but it's looking for that edge, coming up with something out the box that Thomas Frank and his staff have been good at, surviving. So he will have to leave survival mode, which is what he worked with at Brentford. Although I say survival mode, he always went to win games in his head to win a game. He never went there to set up a game and say, right, we're going to get beaten today, so we'll just try to do this. No, go with the mindset to win. But I think he's going to have to get used to having a squad that is far more competitive, and how he handles that, it's going to be interesting. But tactically, you're not going to turn up at White Hart Lane and see the same setup every single game. Some games you're going to see 3, some games you're going to see 4, some games you're going to see 5, depending on who the opposition is.
So I'm just looking at the betting markets. It has tightened on Thomas Frank in the last hour. It's now 4-1 odds on, so you only get 25p for every pound that you bet. So it looks like that's done. But for what it's worth, Marco Silva has come into 5-2 in a few places.
Wow!
He's generally staying at around 3-1. So I mean,
how much money? See,
I don't know.
The bookies are great, aren't they? What you do is you shorten the odds of one, create interest. Everyone starts piling in, trying to earn a few bob, and then
lay it off. Yeah. I mean, just for what it's worth, I put out the poll here on at the start of the show. Frank Silva or someone else. It's almost identical to what I saw on Twitter, and there's 1,100 votes, give or take, here, and there was like 6,000 votes on someone's Twitter page. 57% want Thomas Frank, 5% want Marco Silva, 38% don't want either.
Only 5% for Silva. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. What do you make of him as a? I mean, he's slightly more. I think he's not that dissimilar to Ange Postecoglou. He just doesn't invert the fullbacks.
It's not personable.
He plays it far much more. He's a wide guy, isn't he? He plays down the width. But
Thomas Frank is what we need, but he's not sexy. And I understand the reaction from the fan base, but you just need to understand he's a top coach, and the only way to prove yourself is by stepping up. He hasn't had the ability to prove himself. I think for me, the doubt will be, if we're brutally honest, he's not competed in Europe, and that's going to be the big question. But I think he's tactically astute enough to be able to change his setup to cope with Europe and the different types of systems that they'll face. Whereas we know with Ange, he will play, well, he did until we had the injuries, and by default went to a pragmatic setup from Frankfurt onwards. But before that, we saw at Galatasaray ripped to shreds. AZ away wasn't pretty either. So, I'm just looking forward to a coach that's going to get on that training pitch and improve players. I don't know of a player, apart from Lucas Berghvall, in the last 2 years who I've seen improve as an individual. I've seen Areola improve players. I've seen Glasner improve players. I haven't seen it from Ange, and I believe that he is the guy that can do it, Frank. But Glasner will be my number.
Who do you think would be the biggest transformation from what we have now to the improved version of them?
What do you mean, the biggest transformation?
Like, if you think if Thomas Frank can improve everybody by some percentage, then what player do you think is essentially the biggest sleeping giant that currently isn't anywhere near his level that could be with the right coaching?
I think Berghvall's still got a long way to go.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah, sure.
He's only just started the journey. He's going to love him, Scandinavian. I think Archie Gray will progress. I think Brennan Johnson. If I could get inside Brennan Johnson's head, I'd be telling him, mate, you got to be brave. You got to take players on. Don't matter if you get brought down. You get brought down, you win a free kick. You drive at defenders. Take players out the game. Right now, he's not brave enough. Great at the back post, can't knock it. Goals, can't knock it. But there's definitely massive improvement in his game. Same with Archie Gray, Berghvall, Mikey Moore. There's improvement. Micky van der Ven could improve in the air. That's not his strong point. I think there's improvement in individual players, and we don't know who we're going to sign yet.
Yeah, I was going to see if I can find any of those stories I had out this morning that I actually didn't bother going through. Do you think that there's any chance to curtail the Mbeumo deal? Not curtail, to sort of hijack. It's not signed and sealed yet. Man United are not willing to pay his wage. Or they're like, it sounds like it's done, but Newcastle United are just losing their minds about Manchester United's ability to spend money and that they can't do it to the same degree. It's like they don't understand FFP.
Well, I don't listen, it's very difficult to understand when you have Jim Ratcliffe getting rid of the cleaner, cutting all their Christmas bonuses. We're taking a £20 Christmas bonus. We're getting rid of the canteen. We don't have any money. We're about to go bankrupt. And then, you're paying 400 grand a week for Rashford, 300 grand a week for Casemiro, so on and so on and so forth. And you're cutting all of this stuff. And then you go and spend 63 million on Cunha. God knows what he's on wage-wise. He won't be asking for less than 250, 300 grand a week because that's what everyone else is on.
Yeah.
And I don't understand where they're going to get the money from because, yes, they have assets that they could sell, but who's going to buy Jadon Sancho when he's on 300 grand a week, right? Chelsea turned down Chelsea would rather pay the £5 million fine than bring him into the club for 25 million because it's the whole package was outrageous. Rashford, the same. I think he'll only go out on loan because no one's going to pay the wages. Casemiro, same thing. Garnacho, you'll get out because he's not on massive wages.
I think I saw a story this morning saying that that he is going to leave the club this summer, essentially.
Yeah. And maybe Kobe Mainoo, which really would be a shock if he did leave. I'm not sure the reason why.
Would you take him?
Yeah, he's going to be a player, isn't he? He's a player. He's a really good player. Man United need to hang on to him. Ahmad's not doing anywhere.
He was going to go 70 million quid, 60 million quid.
No, can't remember how long he's got left on his contract. Actually,
if he goes to an English club, I think the people will pay a little bit more for him. Blaine, thank you, Blaine. How you doing, mate? Good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you as always. What gets my goat right now? Chelsea about to sign Jamie Gittins. Takes their spend to over £1 billion in under 3 seasons. It's been over much more than over $1 billion, haven't they? Blaine, I think they spent like nearly 1.6, haven't they, or something? Madness. Maybe that's their net spend. I don't know, but how is this still not under scrutiny? Well, it's because they have the ability to sell their women's team to themselves, and then the hotel to themselves. Oh, wait, fuck! I forgot to mention this. Did you see the Premier League clubs got together for a meeting last week, and they didn't even talk about closing the loopholes on the hotel and the third party stuff and the property transactions because they floated the idea. And guess what? A couple of extra clubs basically pivoted away from their long-standing approval of FFP to go, now there's no point. It's too.
Who they could be, Sean?
We don't know who they were, but part of me thinks maybe it's West Ham.
Could be. I'll be back 1 second, Sean. Keep it going.
No worries, mate. No worries. I don't know. Like they didn't even bother discussing it because they floated the idea. And there was absolutely no interest from anywhere near enough clubs to be able to make the rules. FFP and PSR will not get any stricter, will not get any tighter anytime soon. Because, well, I've mentioned it 1,000 times, right? Like this is a little group of them that are all working. Listen, just don't. What's good for the goose? I'll say it again, is good for the gander. I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. Let's fuck this shit over. Forget about it. Stop it getting any worse. And then those of us will never forget the ones that supported us in this. And there's, you only need 14. You need 14 votes in favour. They already had 5 that were voting against. If they get 2 more, it's done. No more tightening. And it looks like that is what happened last week at the PFA meeting or the PL owners meeting, because they didn't even talk about it. Like, what are we doing here? It's fucking mental. It's absolutely mental.
Sorry about that, guys.
That,
Sorry about that, guys. I had to do an Eric Dyer there and run to the stand, ran to the toilets halfway through the game.
I hope you're okay. I hope you wiped.
Yeah. Shook my hands, washed my hands.
Sean for analysis, Johnny for contacts. It works, says Reese. Appreciate you, mate. Thanks, buddy. Very nice. Johnny does know a thing or two about a thing or two. Booming Cards, eBay. Thank you for this. I've never seen you before. It's a really... You got a picture of a man with a rabbit. Is that you? A picture of a man in a rabbit outfit.
It's his work outfit.
Nice. Look, I'm not hating. I think it's great. I might get myself one. Whoever comes, hopefully he'll do a great job. Hopefully, mate. Hopefully. But you know what? One thing we can absolutely be sure of, Booming Cards, is doesn't matter how good someone does in this job. Doesn't matter how logical decisions can be on paper. If there's a chance for a meltdown, Tottenham fans are going to go for the meltdown.
Yeah,
Option A, let's just keep our wits about us for a second and see how it plays out. Option B, good old-fashioned meltdown. We always choose B, don't we, Johnny, in the fan base?
100%. Can I just add that to couple with the Spurs, being absolutely shambolic in the league, the women's team were absolutely shambolic and were only saved by one of the worst teams to ever be in the women's league, Crystal Palace. And so Robert Wilhelm, who thought came in and I'm mimicking Ange Ball. It was Soddle. And I'd be amazed if he's still in the job because they expect big things from the women's football team, and finishing adrift, only saved by one team who was shocking, isn't going to save. I can't see he was going to save him either. So I expect him to be gone this week as well. It is the week of sackings at our club.
Return of the Shelf is on the Fab. What's the Fab? Oh, the fan advisory board. Oh, is that from the tweet thing? Is that from the tweet I put up? Is that the guy? Is it Return of the Shelf? Oh, yeah. Pete, what did he say? Oh, he said the same thing that Johnny said. Joe Lewis's Tavistock Estate. Yeah. Interesting.
Listen, I mean, I wish now I'd done tweets and stuff. I just done it on here. You want to go back and reference, you can troll back through our streams from months ago and you'll find me talking about it, boring everyone to death.
It's good, mate. It's good. Always keep bringing it, mate. Keep bringing it. Just wish you had wish you could get out of your NDA or whatever so that you could just tell us.
Listen, look, I just think that wasn't inside knowledge. I mean, I mean, not everybody knew that it was Lewis's private banker at Charrington, but if you did your due diligence, you would find that he's a former head of Citibank, and that should have been enough to say to you, well, hang on, this is a heavyweight. You don't become the head. You're not the head of a bank that won awards, Banker of the Year, blah, 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 Bank of the Year with him at the helm, and come to a club like Tottenham just to sit there doing very little. I
just wonder, who is it? Even in a world where he gets his feet under the table, even in this weird world where Daniel Levy is somehow shoehorned out or shoehorned into a different role or whatever, and then you've got Vinny and you've got Paratici, at the end of the day, when it comes to buying the players, when it comes to doing the negotiations, when it comes to, dare I use this old story that I've hated hearing for the last 3 years, but Jack Grealish, we didn't pay the extra £5 million, Monday morning quarterbacking, all that stuff. Who is Charrington going to be the guy that knows the value of the player? And because if it's Daniel Levy that's saying, I'm not paying £5 million for Jack Grealish because he had the say on it, in this world, this hypothesized world that everyone's putting out, that Charrington's going to come in and do, he doesn't know his arse from his elbow in football either. So is he just going to be more open-minded to the recommendations of Paratici?
No, it's not about that. It's not about that. Vinny will be the one overseeing football, right? Charrington, do you know how many financial things going on at the club? You know that, Sean. It's massive. It's a massive organisation.
I know, yeah. Matt Collicott's the finance guy as well, isn't he?
Yeah, well, who would you say, Matt Collicott or the former head of Citibank, right? What I'm trying to say to you here is that he carries, if you're looking for inward investment and you're looking for credibility, having these two heavyweights on the board gives you massive credibility. And if you're trying to attract money for capital projects that you can't fund because you don't have the money. The only way to do it is give credibility to the board so that when someone comes in, Charrington is there to say, you know what, we can go ahead with this, or Daniel, this is no good, or speak to Joe Lewis or to the trust members and say, look, I think we should accept this deal. I think it's a reasonable deal, or Daniel's within his rights to refuse this deal. We don't know, but they need money. They need capital. They're not short of earnings, but it's capital, isn't it?
Yeah. No, but for me, the question which is on everyone's lips, I guess, is that when it comes to buying a top draw, a top level player, a needle mover, where you have to pay you up in the 65, 70 million pound, or the negotiation on the Eze deal, for example, if that was to ever materialise, and how do you figure out a way to make Crystal Palace right without having to get rid of all your cash in one lump sum? Before, it was Paratici and Johan Lang that were doing the ID and then starting the ball rolling, but it was Daniel Levy, or then it was intermediaries if there was a foreign player that would take over that stuff, and then eventually it was Daniel Levy that would come in as the knight, the shining knight on a horse, thinking that he would save the day, and ultimately sometimes he fucked it up, sometimes he got it done, but usually overpaid in the process, but then haggled and fucked up a lot of them on the way as well. Under this new potential boardroom shake-up, who is it that's going to be approving whether you actually forego the player, or you actually get on board and negotiate and on the structure?
Yeah, but
Vinny wasn't doing that at Arsenal. That was Edu.
But he employed Edu, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So he worked with Edu. Does that give you a clue? Right? He worked with Edu. He brought Edu in. He brought Arteta in. He worked with him. So what I'm saying to you is, he will work hand in hand with Fabio, right? Fabio's 10 years at the top with Juventus has got far more credibility than Johan Lang getting demoted at Aston Villa over a short period of time. He's got a long-standing record, and I think that's the crucial thing. I think, Vinny will be the one there. Listen, Daniel is still there, but I just think that he has the credibility there. I think Charrington's there to oversee financial affairs, and why not? It's a massive. We're talking about potentially 600 plus million coming in now with 30 events and Champions League. What do you reckon?
I think the revenue, the peak revenue was 543. Well, I think or something. I think we'll get to 615.
Yeah,
615, 620, something like that. I think it's easily going to be a 600 number.
I actually think it could hit 650 if we have a decent run, potentially.
Possibly.
With 30 events, Sean. Don't forget the uplift of the events.
Yeah.
Sponsorship. Who knows?
You can already tell the language on the account statement will be, yes, it's been a record year, but the costs have gone up significantly as well. Let's not leave that bit out, because otherwise it's going to make me look like I have to go and spend some money on some players. I don't want to do it.
But just someone like, if you look at something like QIS, right, at PSG, they have spent untold fortunes in the pursuit of success. And then they realized, actually, you know what? Buying Galacticos isn't the way. Buying great players, the best players in the world, young players in the world, and trying to group them with the top manager was the way to go. And it's worked out for them. But if you're coming in and you're buying a club and you're buying an asset, you want to grow the asset. So to not invest, in the club, to me is nonsensical. I can't say, why would you buy Spurs or buy into Spurs and not want them to have funds? And the great thing about our club now, through Levy, having been so pragmatic over all these years, is our FFP and PSR headroom is like huge. It's probably at 250 million now, isn't it? Without having to worry, 220, 250.
Yeah, well, I mean, under the old vision, it would have been different. Under the rules that were going to come in to get to the I think it was 85% was the intended thing with the anchoring rule. We would have been fine either way. But yeah, under the 105 million pound loss thing, we got loads of space. Like there's no concern about that.
That's what, unlike most of other clubs, like coming into Newcastle, they couldn't spend a fortune.
Yeah.
Someone could come into Spurs and inject a large amount of cash into the running of the squad. I don't believe any buyout or any investment is going to be a buyout. I think even if it was a buyout, it would be a rolling buyout. 10%.
To clarify that, you can't just put £500 million and then just put it into the accounts. Like, that's not how it would work. A lot of that would get taken out by the dilution. Obviously, some of it would be probably put across for the projects. But even if it wasn't, you can't just add 500 because that's not revenue. That's an investment, right? So it's a different rule. So you can't just then spend £500 million on players.
But what they might do, say for example, they decided that the buyout will be 3.5 billion. Okay. And the buyout will be over the next 4 years or 3 years. Okay. Rolling, acquiring stock over the next 3 years, because you're not going to increase the value and have to pay even more money for your other 10% in the next and the next and the next. You'll set that number right from the off.
Oh, but in terms, so that's fine. But in terms of the ability to spend money, you still can only spend what your club generates in revenue, and investment doesn't count. The only thing new investors do allow, new investors give you an extra £30 million for 3 years, right? So so there's that side of it, but also what there also could be is the ability then to sell your left arm to your right arm and move it back.
Well, we've got that, but Sean, what I'm saying to you is we've got so much FFP and PSR headroom, they could invest the money and spend the money without breaking any rules and without having to manipulate and circumvent the rules. We could play by the rules and spend big money. And that's why I'm saying if it does come through, we do get an investment in. I don't want to hear any bullshit stories this summer. We need to spend money. We need to spend money. And if we don't...
I sit there and I go, well, look, Matt Law's got, credibility, right? He gets fed stories, but that doesn't mean the stories are always true. Sometimes that they're pushing narratives to set the fans up for reality, right? So when they says we've got to sell to buy, I'm like, maybe we have to sell to buy if we want to pay for Eze in one lump sum because we're cash illiquid. But this notion that there's no money is bullshit. It just takes Daniel Levy to do what he's already doing, which is moving money around into various subsidiaries. He's just doing that for his own ends rather than for the benefit of the club. And so, that will change. But Johnny, I know you've got to round off because the missus is getting home. So it's a perfect time on the hour and a half to send it off, mate.
We'll just hit the guys. If you're in there, can you pin to the top? Still pin to the top, is it, Sean?
Yeah, still there. Yeah.
You hit the Football Inc, please, and if you're in the Football Inc, like and comment. It all helps the algorithm, and hit subscribe, please. We're trying to grow it, and if you like football other than Spurs, obviously, and just like football in general, we'll be doing that as well. So lots of interesting stuff there.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Sent to my rant. I just look. I think we all are fed up. We had that amazing moment in Bilbao. We had that incredible parade, which unfortunately I missed, and I had to watch it on YouTube because I'm still in Bilbao. And it feels like a lifetime ago right now. And I want to get this sorted. I think we all do, know where we're going, and try and get back to that night in Bilbao and enjoy ourselves till the summer starts. And we go ahead and win the Super Cup and not only end the season winning a trophy, we start the season winning a trophy, and Arsenal fans are crying even more. What a beautiful...
Do you know what it is? We're in limbo right now, gentlemen, right? And I feel like the last 24 hours has been one step out of limbo. But if you know where the phrase of limbo comes from, obviously it's a kind of afterlife concept. So I just don't know whether we're going up to heaven or down to hell, depending on who we get in as a new manager, what happens with the spend, and how we use it. Samaritain, the Pro Jew song, not sure what that is, but thank you for the super chat. Booming cards, come back in, another one.
Thank you,
followed. Yes, that's me. Costumes not mine. Suits you. I like it, mate. I like it very much. Moose is here. Hi, Moosey. How you doing, buddy? He says, hello, you legends. How are we feeling a day on? I need this manager announced ASAP.
We all do, Moose. We all do. We're desperate for it. I was waiting. I said to Sean, it's going to be Thursday, Friday, the week before. And of course, nothing happened on Thursday. You said it was going to, I said Thursday or Friday. And then it was, as I said, it was like 4:30. And I'm thinking, wonder what's happening. And then, of course, 5:00, it came out. But we need closure on the manager. We need to know. how many more days left of the first transfer window? Is it 7? Hang on.
Oh, it's like 3 days, isn't it?
Is it 3?
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out how many days.
It's 3 days, yeah. I think it's Tuesday night, I think. Could be wrong about that, but I saw on Sky Sports there was a giant clock.
Yeah, so
3 days and 3 hours.
Us signing someone in the first window is going to be slim. Look, the first window, in all essence, was designed for Chelsea and Manchester City for the World Club Cup, you know, in essence. But to think that
Why don't they just leave it open? Why don't they just open it and leave it open? Why does it need to close again? It's so weird, isn't it? Such a fucking stupid.
Well, I suppose a lot of the contracts don't finish until the end of June, and they start on July the 1st, which is why normally the transfer window opens on July the 1st. So there's going to be lots of excitement. We're going to be linked with every Tom, Dick and Harry. Let's just hope for one season, for once in our lives as Spurs fans, we're not linked to the Ezes and the Mbuemos, and we end up with some guy we got to Google. That we got on the cheap. It's time now. He screwed up the opportunity in 2019 to kick on after making the Champions League final. We're in the Champions League. It's been a long way. It feels like forever since we were in it, and I think we got to grab it with both hands. Huh? Better to have tried and failed, Sean, than never to have tried at all. And I think now's the time. And as you said last few months ago, 3 months ago, you feel now is the time where Spurs have to break their transfer record or their wage structure.
Yeah, listen, there's degrees of trying, though, right? I feel like Daniel Levy could say, we've always tried. We tried, but we just weren't quite there. Yeah, but how hard did you really try? Yeah. How hard did you try? You know, did you pick up the phone and dial the actual number, or did you dial the wrong number and go, well, I tried, but it's just not connected. So, you know, go and get Ryan Nelson.
A million short, you know.
We shall see. Guys, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much. Cheers, Moosey. Cheers, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for coming by. Please make sure you do smash the like button on this one, on the Spurs Talk Show and on Football Inc. And if you haven't already, literally just at the very top of your comment section, there's a link to Football Inc. Really appreciate it. Tomorrow, you'll see us over there together, talking about all in sundry from around the market. Have a wonderful Saturday, guys. Go out and enjoy yourselves. Get drunk, have a cider or two. And I'll see you bright and early with the dog. And I'll see you later on with Johnny. Cheers, Johnny. Appreciate you, mate.
Right. See you soon.
See you guys. Ugh.